Welcome, buddy, back to the Bench Cut. Episode 3, third time's the charm. It is Christmas time. Happy holidays. The good Lord has blessed me with a brown Christmas. More than I could ever ask for. I'm still digging. December 21st today is. So thank you for that, Santa Claus. Very nice. Are you out there digging right now? If so, good for you. This week, our guest is Dane Tudor. Dane has been digging at the Red Bike Park. By now, you've probably seen some of the new trails coming out of that bike park that just opened up this summer. So this was recorded mid-September. I went there on their closing weekend. And I met up with Dane and we rode the bike park. We had some sessions on the new jump line they had built and rode the Blue Trail. It was pretty sweet to check that place out. I had never been to Red or Rossland before. And then after a big old day of riding, we went over to his place and he shared a nice glass of orange juice with me. That was delicious. And we sat down and talked. And for those that don't know, Dane was or is a pro skier. And I didn't really get too into that because if you want to hear about that side of his life, I think there's already several podcasts about that. But our focus was all the trail building. It's always sweet to see a new bike park pop up. So this one, you're really going to notice the contrast between different builders' techniques and really hear how everyone has a different way of doing things. And that really is exactly the reason why I'm doing this podcast. I want to show how different trails can be and how different everyone's processes are. And, there's always something to learn from different builders. So I really want to stress that just because me and Ron are a couple of crusty fucks in that last episode, maybe, it doesn't mean that that's the only way of doing things. I certainly would not even want to build trails if we all did it the same way. Might as well be fucking installing sewer pipe if we're going to be doing things all uniform in the same way. So it's really cool to hear his perspectives of how they build and how their crew works. So really, if you go ride Red, the work speaks for itself. It's very fun. I recommend you go ride Red. So I will say that I think I was a little underprepared going there. It was pretty last minute that I found out I had the time to go drive out there and meet up with him. So I do wish I had spent a little bit more time writing down some questions, and I feel I could have asked him to elaborate on a couple more things, but he did a great job of just answering everything I had to ask, I guess. Thank you for that, Dane. That was really awesome to come out there and check out the old bike park, or I guess the new bike park. That is. So all right, what up, Dane? Thanks for showing me around Red today. So all of these so far that I've done, all one of them, I started with the question, if you could pick one thing that you've built so far to represent you.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming out. Super grateful and stoked to be on the podcast. It was really fun showing you around the mountain today and riding some of our new trails at Red. I would say, if you had asked me that question last year, I would have said our Blue Flow Trail Lapis, which as we were building it and people were starting to see it for the first time and test it out a little bit, they just couldn't believe it was here in Rossland at Red. And, they were just so fired up on the visual scale of it for a blue trail. And, we were really loving riding it this year as well. And then once we started building the Black Trail Obsidious, it really started to take shape and definitely is a lot larger than the Blue Trail Lapis. And at this point, I would say that that's my kind of
cool
major stoke and peak moment for building.
Sweet to add something to a town because you grew up here, I think. Am I right there? Yeah. It's cool to add something to a town you've lived in and just see the reaction from people and ride with.
Yeah, it's
probably.
been super cool for sure. I grew up skiing here and spent a ton of time on the mountain. I was homeschooled growing up, so I was up there every day skiing POW and ripping around. It's actually quite funny. I would build jumps all over the mountain, and I'd be constantly getting in trouble from the ski patrollers. They'd be coming up, tearing my jumps down, and now I'm building jumps out of dirt that are going to be there forever. So
Getting your
it's
revenge a little bit.
yeah, not exactly, but it's definitely really cool to come full circle in that sense and to be able to build for our local community and really shape the mountain biking here in the Kootenays.
That's right. I guess
Yeah.
like growing up skiing on the mountain, I don't know if you're biking your whole life or not. We can get into that, but you probably like were picturing like trails and stuff, skiing a hill and then like finally getting to build it.
Yeah, well, I grew up skiing and also racing motocross.
Okay.
And yeah, really like my history between those two sports has taken me to California to race dirt bikes and ride some of the world's best motocross tracks. And I've also traveled all over the world skiing professionally. And I've skied a ton of the most insane terrain parks and also hit super park features that were built for our film projects. And so, yeah, I just have hit a lot of incredible park features and tracks. And I've really brought that together in building the trails that we've been working on at Red.
Yeah, totally. Definitely see like a lot of different inspirations in the way that you guys built there. When when do you think when did you start mountain biking then?
Well,
Was it something you always did?
yeah, I'd always been riding a bicycle, but I actually have a bit of a larger backstory than just growing up here in Rossland. So I was born in Australia and I've been living in Rossland in the wintertime since I was born and Alaska in the summertime. So I would basically just pedal my bicycle around in Alaska up and down the road where we lived. And I had some of the mountain bike culture already kind of in my blood from growing up here in the wintertime and the homies that I hung out with watching, Cranked and New World Disorder. And I was actually introduced to Christian Begin or Beijing. I don't know how you really say his last name when I was a child, and he created the Cranked film series.
Oh, cool.
And also Dave Sweatland. He lived right across the road from us, and Chris Lawrence at the time was here. So I was definitely watching those mountain bike films. And in Alaska, there really wasn't a bike scene, and we lived on a flat 5-acre property. And I would just go out in the woods and build like really sketchy wheelie drops and stuff like that. And that was pretty much the extent of mountain biking for me until really 2012. As I was riding for Scott Sports for skiing, they also have mountain bikes. So I negotiated to get a bike through my contract and started riding bikes here locally. And because of my motocross background, I am very skilled on two wheels already. But it definitely took a bit, as far as jumping was concerned, to get used to riding without a throttle.
Yeah, for sure.
And just the jumps are, at least, the backwoods kind of homey builds can be pretty variable. And depending on the size, they can be kind of kicky and stuff like that. So it took me a bit to really learn the speed judgment, even though on skis you don't have a throttle and you're judging
Yeah,
the speed.
totally. Motocross is like totally foreign to me. Like
Yeah.
never really spent time on it. Probably spent more time on like quads and shit than
Yeah.
motos. The style of moto definitely like plays inspirations into mountain biking a lot and skiing for sure too.
Yeah, totally. Motocross is super fun. I love riding the track, and for me, yeah, it's just a great time and easy way to get into a flow state and go out and scrub and toss some whips and stuff like that. It's super awesome.
When you're in Alaska, is there like some mountain bikers that you would ride with a little bit, or did that kind of more so pick up once you got back to Rossland?
Yeah, in Alaska, like I said, I was like probably 8 to 12 years old kind of thing, just pedaling up and down by myself and building stuff in the backyard. And then I started riding dirt bikes, so I stopped biking. And in 2012, when I started riding here in the Kootenays, is when things really took off on the bike side for me as far as riding was concerned.
Yeah, I guess it'd be like hard to come back here to the Kootenays where like all the riding's so damn good and like see everyone riding and not start biking.
Yeah, totally. And at the time, there wasn't a great motocross track around, so I needed something to do in the summer, and
Yeah, totally.
biking's a pretty obvious choice. And living in the Kootenays too is so cool because like the history of mountain biking, like definitely a large part of it comes out of BC and out of the Kootenays, and you know, it's a pretty classic spot for steep, rowdy trails and definitely pretty wild riding.
The history like around here is pretty wild. Just like all the old school dudes that have been here before and put a legacy in the woods. So many stories and shit that you can learn from.
Yeah, totally.
So from when you started kind of getting back into biking around 2012, where do you think you got into the trail building thing a little bit?
Really, I started trail building in what year was it? Maybe like 2020. Around that time frame, I was starting to have some challenges with Scott, and so it felt like my ski career was starting to wind down, and I needed to do something during the summertime. And I've got a friend that runs a local trail building business called Dig Trail Design, and he was working on a green machine built trail from Strawberry Pass or Nancy Green Summit down to Rossland. It's so a nice green flow trail, and he set me up in his John Deere 30G, and he just gave me a quick little rundown, and I hopped in the machine and started building. I had run machines growing up on and off, like really more just hopping in a dozer at a motocross track and trying to, make some adjustments or something like that. From a young age, I was always just like, let me in the machine kind of thing.
Yeah, sick.
So I had some operating experience, but getting in the excavator, it took a little bit of time to just feel out the way the machine works. And also at the time, I felt pretty sketchy, just like it was like the trail needed to be outsloped. And I had honestly no idea what I was doing. Yan, the guy who ran the company, he did show me, but he also just let me at it. And I just felt so uncomfortable being on the slightest tilt.
Yeah.
Like I was really worried about, flipping the machine. And
so your intro to machines was kind of more like from the moto, like building moto tracks and maintaining them a bit more?
Yeah, totally. I ended up somehow getting a dozer key for a cat or something like that. And I actually jumped in a machine at one of the tracks that wasn't local to me in Alaska and went out there and like made some changes to it, just like totally random. They just had this dozer sitting at the track, and I was like, I got a key.
Nice.
So I just
hopped
snuck in there.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
But yeah, I started building around 2020 for Yan, and built this green flow trail, and then he had a contract in Ontario, so I ended up going out there with him to build a jump skills park in a city park in Thunder Bay.
Cool.
Which was cool. And after that was pretty much the end of it for that time. And then I have been hassling Howard Katkoff, the CEO, over the years, being like, hey, you guys ever going to build a bike park? If you do, I want to build it.
Yeah, nice.
And anytime I'd run into him, I'd say that. And then last summer, very randomly, my buddy hits me up and he's like, yo, they're building the bike park at Red. And I was like, what? I didn't really know that was actually going to happen. I'd heard rumors about it, but they've been talking about it for years. And since we have these new investors involved in the mountain, it's really given the kickstart to bring that on. So he's like, yeah, you should do it. And I was like, well, I got nothing else really going on right now, so that sounds sick. And I reached out to Gravity Logic directly, and I just gave them the information on my past trail building and the project that we did in Ontario, and talked to them about the motocross tracks. And I did do a big revamp of the Kootenay motocross track here locally, which has brought a ton of people from all over the Kootenays and beyond to come out and race. Just because our track is built up and rides really well.
Cool.
And yeah, Gravity Logic put me on and put me in a 20, and I started there and worked my way up very quickly to managing the project.
Right on. So that first green trail you worked on, that's in town here. What's that one called?
Yeah, it's called Cedar Trail.
Nice.
Yeah, it's I don't know how many kilometers it is. We worked on a portion of it.
Yeah. Cool.
And it's also, people love it. It's like pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But
So with that same crew, you then went out to Ontario and did a project out there.
yeah, it was pretty fun. Like I said, it was in a city park, so
Oh yeah, bit of a different terrain, I bet, than like in the Kootenays here. To
Yeah.
go from here to Ontario, where it's a little flatter.
totally. It was literally like a park where you go
Yeah.
there and it's like green grass everywhere, and there's just like this really minor hill. And we built a little skills jump park there from like green to black style. Definitely overall pretty small features in the big picture of things, but people are throwing flips on them and stuff. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
And then back here to Red. It's cool to see like a lot of ski hills now starting to get into like the bike parks, especially.
yeah,
Like there's always been the handful of bike parks in BC, obviously, but like it's like the few holdout ski hills now are kind of embracing it a little bit more.
yeah, totally. Red did try to do a bike park in the early 2000s, and maybe it just wasn't the right time at that moment, and things were a lot different then. There was less people coming to Red and the Kootenays in general, so
Yeah.
there's been a lot of growth since then.
Yeah.
And,
Obviously
has
like biking
changed.
exploded there for a while there, the old COVID bubble.
Yeah,
Everyone started biking and then everyone saw a way to like capitalize and make money. But I really think for ski hills, like it's awesome to have like a summer product that you can offer and keep the hill going. Like all the infrastructure's there, so it's kind of like a no brainer. Like why
yeah,
not?
it makes a lot of sense. Like there's a lot of real estate involved, so having a bike park in the summer just makes a year-round product really that they can offer to attract people to come and ride, and it's great for community. Like Rossland is definitely missing that in a sense where we have the ski hill in the winter, and it's so steeped in our roots being 5 minutes from town that you go up there and you're always going to find people to hang out with and ski with, make new friends.
Yeah.
And in the summer, we have great mountain bike trails all around the town, but we didn't have a place where you could go and connect with people every day. So having the bike park's just really awesome for that. You get to go up and hang out with the homies or meet somebody from a different area and just chat with them about biking and go for some laps.
Yeah, sick. Were you much of a bike park rider, like kind of before this happened, or like mostly just doing enduro?
Yeah, I mean, I was just pedaling locally around Rossland. I think like if people knew my background in some ways, they'd be like, "You're building trails," from the sense that I didn't have a ton of experience building trails, but because I have a background in sports
Like
the way that I do.
riding today, I was like, damn, that's pretty damn good for if you're like kind of just the first few seasons, because 2021. Well, I guess it's 5 years now for you then. But yeah, I'd say that's a pretty damn good product. Like I wish my stuff looked like that quickly. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. Like I said, kind of my background as a professional skier and,
Oh yeah, totally.
and motocross and stuff. I've been riding so many different locations, and I've been building jumps. I think any of us that are riders have been building jumps since we could walk, pretty much.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just had definitely a vision and wanted to create trails here in Rossland at Red that rivaled, if not were better than Whistler, really was kind of what my mind had on the plate. And yeah, I just really went at it.
Yeah, totally.
In general, I'm used to really big features, so I just like to dig a lot of dirt and stack things up and
Yeah, totally.
make it
I
visually
mean, obviously,
appealing.
yeah, having a ski career, building backcountry booters all the time, like you get a really idea of how lips work and how it's going to send you different trajectories and stuff like that. So once you can like get into an excavator and like really move material, then it's pretty fun that way for sure.
Yeah, totally. I guess like what I was saying is like, if someone knew, oh, the guy's built like one trail and he's building a resort, leading that project, they may question that, but there's definitely no question at this point. People are seeing the product. And I know that everybody in town definitely believed in myself and the team, and Gravity Logic and GL was awesome in recognizing my talent very quickly and allowing me the complete freedom to create and back up our product because they could see that it was top level. And Gravity Logic's been super amazing to work for, and the guys Dave, Kelly, Rob, and Tom have just been incredible. They're really just letting us go at it and do our thing, and they're pumped.
Yeah, it's sick out there. Is there maybe a weird question, I guess, in your ski career? Is there a moment maybe of like a build you guys did, like a hand build, like stacking some like booter or something, some sort of crazy feature that really sticks out to you? Like not even so much about maybe filming it or like skiing it, but like the actual process of being out there, like creating something.
Yeah, with the jumps in the backcountry, I wouldn't say anything stands out that much, but there was a feature that I built here at Red, a park feature, and my friend Sean, I grew up, he was a snowboard coach of mine, I think, back in the day, and he runs Cats here. So he and I worked together to build a feature for one of the Poor Boys films, and I have a tendency to get very carried away when I build things, and so I just kept guiding him to build this jump, and it ended up just absolutely insane. And there's a photo of it in the lodge in the staircase, like huge blow up of me hitting that jump. And that definitely would be the most memorable thing that I've built, as far as just building something and then being done and being like, whoa, dude, like you got to hit that.
Yeah, totally.
It's easy to build things and be like, oh yeah, stack it more, make it bigger, let's do this. And then you have to hit it. And you're like, oh man, what was I thinking?
Yeah. I remember like, cause I built terrain parks in the winter in 2015 when I first started doing it. I remember the very first park jump I built. I like kind of had the idea for it, and then like when I kind of looked at it from the side in person and got out of the cat, I was like, oh, this thing's way too big. That's not going to work at all. And thank God the other guy, Joey, the park groomer there, fixed it for me.
Yeah.
I was like, that thing would have murdered some people.
Yeah.
For sure. What, that was a Poor Boys movie you said? Do you know which one that was? Just so can see that.
What year was that? I don't remember. That might have been in Wee.
Well, I guess they'll just have to come to Rossland and see the picture of it hanging up in the lodge.
Yeah, the
then.
photo's pretty good. I'm stoked to be a part of the lodge and part of the history of the community. And yeah, building the bike park is another part of that where I feel like I can leave behind a bit of a legacy at this point and really bring all my skills together to create trails for people, and just like seeing the amount of enjoyment that it's bringing the community. From the green trail all the way to the black trail, and just like there's people up there every day and they're just so stoked, and I love seeing how happy everybody is.
Yeah, it's like definitely one of the perks of the job of doing this as a career. It's like seeing other people enjoy your work, and I think everyone does kind of low key do it a little bit to like the legacy thing. Like you feel like you are kind of leaving something behind, something other people are going to get to use. I think it can feel, sometimes I almost feel a little narcissistic if I'm just like building something for myself. When I was younger, maybe when I was into like making little bike videos or like just like trying to make a secret jump or something and hide it away for just me and my buddies.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you do it for your career and you get to build stuff that general public is going to get to ride, like you actually feel like you're contributing a little bit more. At least that's how I kind of feel with it.
Yeah, totally. And it's cool, like, because there's different skill levels, some people might think, oh, you are just building things for yourself. And it's like, I think that we have a really good grasp of what the future looks like and the ability level of a lot of the riders coming up. And if we don't, build these trails to the scale and level of the future, we're just doing a disservice to all the kids and the generations coming behind us.
Yeah. It's almost like too, you need to offer something that isn't already there, because like who's going to come ride something that they could already go ride for free when you have something that they can like progress up to. And I'm sure like you'll see it in the youth that they have something like that to go ride versus like, I mean, there's obviously tons of great trails around town. I'm kind of bummed that I didn't like spend some time riding Rossland before coming out here. Kind of just scooted out for the day here, but there's like so much you could ride here.
Yeah, I mean, we have a huge trail network, and honestly, having the ski hill developing the park has been something that we've needed for a long time. Our local trail network has been incredible in establishing trails and getting them sanctioned and having a large network and doing the maintenance on them, but we were in serious need of flow.
Yeah.
We have a lot of like definitely what I would consider more tech trails, even if there is like portions of flow on them. So it's really nice now that we have the ski hill where we can really highball down things.
I feel like even like the few dudes that are like holdout, they hate the flow so much. Like sometimes they just haven't really had access to it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, everyone has their own riding style. It's actually really funny. I won't name him, but somebody at in within the Red crew said something along the lines of how he likes tech trails because you actually have to have skill to ride them. And ironically, he can't actually hit the jump lines.
Yeah, that's
So
a
I
common
was
theme
like,
with the
dude.
people who hate flow. They're like, well, that's because I actually have skill to go ride the tech trails, but you got to be able to hit it all. And seems to be those people that don't really jump so well as much that have that mentality.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. I was like, dude, it takes a lot of skill to hit these jump lines. Like, I don't see you hitting them. So
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny. And
Yeah, if they're too easy, throw a flip or something. I don't know.
yeah, but all due respect, all riding styles and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, totally.
Everybody has their own interests and vibe, and doesn't matter what you like to ride. It's all fun and great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're like offering a product, you have to make sure you have all your bases covered. If
Yeah.
you're like trying to make money off of it.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of just the expectation to have high quality flow trails along with that tech product.
Yeah, totally. You got to have a good mix.
Yeah. I think I like probably have spent too much time on the flow the past few years. Like my tech riding is just garbage these days. It depends on the conditions a little bit too. Sometimes like the flow trails are just more what's the word, consistent. Like even if it's dry and dusty, like you're gonna find a good line and you can like hit the jump still. Or if they're like muddy or wet compared to like wet roots and falling in holes and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. And I think like from a tech perspective, for myself, I like trails that are, a certain grade and pretty rompy. So it's like a flowy tech.
Yeah.
Right? Where I don't want like janky tech.
Yeah.
But again, that's like each person has their own
Yeah.
style.
No, I'm kind of with you in that. Like even if it's like techie, I want to at least be able to find a line. Like once I've learned the trail where I can get through it, carry momentum, and not like be like constantly running into something that's stopping me completely.
Yeah.
And I don't know, some tech trails that just go straight down. Like it depends where it is. Like if it's in a bike park and you're just constantly fall line, it's gonna get like pretty dished out into a rut, which like can be really sweet on certain trails, but like if it's like dead slow and you're like pedaling and trying to work your momentum to get through stuff, I find these days I just don't have the energy for that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, again, each person to their own style for sure. But what do you think we talk a little bit about some building styles?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's talk about your building style a little bit. So
yeah, well, I just really like to stack things up. Is definitely where it's at for me. So I like big machines that can move a lot of dirt, and I like to dig a lot of big holes and just mine as much dirt as possible and really build the features up, because for me, I think that really adds to the aesthetic of the trail and just like the general feel when you're riding it, because when you ride a trail that's like literally massive, it just has a different feel than a trail that you ride that's stacked pretty small. Totally. Like you're going to be deep inside the berms. You're going to be going over these big jumps and rollers, and it's just completely different. And I also find, a berm that's massive that really keeps you in, you're not going to run the risk of like your front tire going out of the top of the berm and like smashing your face off the ground.
It's kind of like having like a nice big catcher's mitt, like a safety net for all the different variable rider speeds they're going to have. Like you'll just go higher up the berm, I guess. And you guys did a pretty sick job with the cleanup too, like with all that dirt mining and stacking in the holes that you're talking about. Like you look at the forest afterwards, and you guys did a great job of like cleaning it all up and renaturalizing it a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely have hopes that the forest will be able to handle it. I think that it should be fine based on, our build on Lapis. Everything seems okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we moved dirt a long ways. It's like it could take a week to stack dirt for a berm or for a jump, just digging constantly. And then you have to potentially do maybe it's like 3 swings with the excavator, or maybe it's 6 swings with the excavator to get the dirt from the pit to the location of the feature.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, our mining and dirt hauling is pretty extensive. And I don't have any knowledge outside of the style that I work with to how other people do it. Like if you're building mellow trails that don't require a ton of dirt, then, you could cruise down the trail and just dig a bit out of the sides of the trail and fill it back in with some duff or different organics. But with what we're doing, it's just we need such a large quantity of dirt that we have to move it from a pretty far distance, which right now I'm using an 85, so it's like an 8-ton excavator. It's the largest in the compact mini excavator series. And that's been really awesome. It just has a lot longer reach, and the bucket that we have on there is pretty large, I think.
Yeah.
I've seen even like the 145 from the same manufacturer, Bobcat. It has the same bucket on it.
Yeah, some of the dirt piles you guys stacked up there are pretty massive. I was like, holy cow, these guys have put in some serious work out there.
Yeah, so we have 3 excavators. We've got a 60 out front, which I would prefer to be an 85, but that's what we have right now. And then I am coming behind. So the guy in the front, he's grubbing and digging all the pits and burying the material. We usually just bury the trees and stumps and things like that, which is the not so glamorous part about trail building. But it's part of the process. And
yeah, like kind of in the sides and stuff. You mean like?
Yeah, so a lot of people will be like, oh man, I can't believe we're not using these trees, like even the guys that are on our build team. And it's like they think that they should be milled and used for wood, which definitely makes sense. But if we did that, we wouldn't have dirt because all of that stuff goes in the pit. And so I'm like, they have a really great purpose. Totally. They're going back into the ground. They will eventually decompose, and that will be very rich nutrient soil. And it's also supplying the dirt that we use for the features. So yeah, the 60's out front, digging and burying. Then I'm coming along in the 85, and I am stacking and shaping, and I like that portion of the project because I feel like I have strong management in the scale of the trail and the feature development. And then we have a 38 in the back, which is doing the final tuning and shaping. So, we've got our operator Chris out front in the 60, myself, and then Rick in the back in the 38. And based on our specific skill sets, I think that we've aligned ourselves really well for success and to utilize each person to the best of their abilities.
Cool. Yeah, I'd say so. It's cool to hear that. Like it's like so different than my process, and like I'm sure so different than other people's processes, but like you get like your established way of doing things with your crew, and like the product definitely speaks for itself. Like when you ride it, it's really flowy, and like I would definitely recommend anyone listening to this come ride Red because like that Lapis trail is sick, man. Like the jumps are really fun, and like you can tell how much work has been putting into like stacking everything in the specific spot it needs to be. So with that process, you have the 2 excavators going, and then you have a few hand guys behind doing a little bit of tune up. It looks like, or are you trying to kind of tune as much as you can with that second machine?
Yeah, we have the 3 machines. And so, Rick in the back is an incredible shaper. He's built a lot of trails in the Kootenays and is very well known.
Yeah, I'll just cut in his rock work on the side of side of the trails there he was using to like control some of the erosion and stuff like that. It looks so nice, and it's such a great way to utilize like the rocks that you guys pulled out that would otherwise be just kind of thrown to the side maybe.
Yeah, well, it's funny actually. That specific spot I had come through and built the berm, and depending on the feature, sometimes I nail it perfect, and Rick's like, "Oh, I don't even have to do anything. Like, I'll just rake some rocks out of it, and we're good." And other times he has to do a bit more work, and the radius of that berm in particular needed to be expanded on. So he did a lot of work in there, and I had buried a lot of the rock further back in the berm, and he dug the radius out to the point where all the rock that he's put up on the upper bank all came out of the berm, which was pretty wild. Like, I was like, damn, dude, I didn't know like I missed the mark that much on that one. Like, I knew that it would need some tuning, but not to that extent. So again, like, working with your team is so great because everybody sees things a little bit differently and brings something to the table. And Rick's so incredible to work with, and like I was saying, he has such a history of building in the Kootenays. And
yeah, I was told that I got to get that guy on this show at some point, so it'd be cool. Guy I work with, Aaron Clark, I think has some history. He used to live in Nelson, and he was like, "Oh, dude, you got to meet Rick." And yeah, it was sweet running into him in the lift line there.
Yeah,
it's cool when you like have a crew that you can like dial in your process, and you start kind of like understanding each other a little bit more, so that like if you do get it cleaned up in front of him, like, and he can just kind of skip over a section, whereas like you can kind of tell when if you're the guy in front to like go a little rougher because he's catching up on your end a little bit. Is there any like spots kind of like that rocky zone where like that was a real problem or a puzzle for you guys to get through on this mountain so far?
No, not really. I mean, honestly, I think it's always a bit of a puzzle. You're always putting the pieces together, and some areas are more challenging than others, or we might have to change the alignment if we really don't like a certain spot. Yeah, just in general, like we did actually build one of the shark fins on Lapis. Both of them were incredibly dirt intensive, actually, and the banks on the sides are huge. So those are usually quite the process between stacking rocks up for stability and just the amount of volume that you need, again, because I think it's dependent on the style of the trail builder and also the trail that you're building. And a lot of guys will be like, "Oh, I just like to work with the terrain and what it supplies." And we definitely didn't really do that. Like where there's a shark fin, it might have just been a corner was the original trail alignment, but because we want to put a shark fin in, we have to stack the dirt way up off the ground.
Yeah.
Because like just it might be a bank turn, and we completely change it by just increasing the volume of dirt in that area. So I don't really,
especially if you have maybe terrain that doesn't really, like it's like maybe a beautiful forest, but it doesn't have too much shape to it. It's almost like kind of a boring, then you do kind of, if you want some really cool big features, you got to dig it a little bit more than you would normally if there's maybe like a natural shape in the terrain. I mean, I don't know what red looks like before you guys built a trail in a specific spot, but like sometimes you do just have to dig your life out if you want a specific feature to be in a spot.
Yeah.
Whereas like some of the spots where like I grew up in Kamloops where the terrain is just like already formed, like you do a little bit of shoveling and you can have like a 50-foot booter in like a day. And then you get to like some terrain where it's just dead flat, like planar across the slope. And if you want to have like a big black jump trail, for instance, like, yeah, you're going to need to do some serious digging for that.
Yeah, totally. It's crazy. Like I definitely prefer to build trails in the sense of like we're just building the features that we want regardless of what the terrain. Yeah, just by the amount of volume of dirt we dig. Yeah. And so like changing grades sometimes, again, just by increasing a certain location. So it's like you're coming around a corner, and if that normally just dipped down, the grade might have been 8%, but because we built a shark fin there and loaded so much dirt up to it, now it's 12 to 13%, like in that space.
Yeah.
Which definitely can change the trail a bit and the speed for sure, but it seems to have worked out pretty good.
Yeah, cool. Is there like a maybe once? I mean, I guess you guys have done Lapis and what was that other one? The black one we rode today called the
Yeah,
new one.
we just finished a very small middle section of Obsidius. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jumps, which is really cool. When we started the blue, the manager of Red Mountain actually he came up and he's like, "Oh, this is like a blue jump because I guess people thought that it was looking a little larger than they were used to." Which now, after this first season riding it, I think that the trail has bedded in really well and it's settled out and it's feeling real nice and blue to me. And so the manager's like, if this is the blue trail, what's the black trail going to look like? And I always had in my head that I really wanted to build something like crabapple, which it's definitely not crabapple size, but one of the managers at GL, we were talking about the black trail, and I was like, I just want it to be crabapple all the way down, and he didn't even say anything. He just like said nothing. I was like, okay, maybe a bit too far.
Yeah. Well, it's not quite crab apple. It's big for sure. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say it's like and it's like right under the chair there. So like every time we went up, your buddies were under there, like hollering up to you. I think that's got something to say for it when you just see your buddies below you sessioning and you can kind of catch up to them and do some laps with them. Like the location is sick and that giant wood structure with the drop and the wall ride, like that's kind of unique. I'm gonna guess, did that start by it was gonna just be a normal drop and then the railings were a thing and then you guys realized that you could put a wall ride on one of the railings? Or was
No,
the wall ride
actually.
planned right from the beginning?
So when we started that section, Dave Kelly, one of the owners at Gravity Logic, mentioned an on-off feature there. And so we knew that we wanted to build a big drop for sure. It was just calling for it. And so we knew we wanted to build an on-off. And Rick actually came up with the wall ride idea and thought that it would be super unique. And it's just, again, so nice to work with our team and, go with the flow when those types of ideas are brought up. And we also have Dave on our team, which Dave is a local in Nelson that's done a bunch of work for Kurt Sorgi at Rampage and is an experienced trail builder, has built out a Retallick and Carpenter. So he has been really awesome in building our wood structures, and he and Rick are good buddies. So it's been really awesome to have them on the team. And yeah, Rick was just like, oh, I got this idea, and I think it really will like showcase Dave's work and our ability to do something different.
Yeah. It like makes a statement. It's like right there. Like you said something that's kind of like terrain parky, like this big feature visually from the chair. And yeah, you don't see like a ton of these huge wood features kind of being built these days almost a little bit. So it's sweet to see something like that worked into like a jump line.
Yeah, totally. It's super cool to have the line right under the chair there, and like it's so great for the community to be able to watch our top end riders. It's actually really similar to skiing up at Red. We have a run under Motherlode chair, which is the main chair that goes to the top of the mountain, called Lynx Line, and that's a classic line where all of our best riders ride under the chair and throw big flips off the drops at the top, and just gets people super stoked. So it's really cool to have a portion of Obsidius right there under the chair for everyone to get super fired up on. And yeah, really with that wood feature and the black trail in general, I'm definitely looking to push the limits as much as possible with size, which it is. The majority of the jumps are 30 feet, which is pretty standard, I think, for a black jump line.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's just, again, about the amount of volume that we dig and the length of the lips and landings that just make them so smooth and just lofty feeling.
Yeah, I have a feeling like to build on a hill that you've skied so much, you're trying to take a lot of that character of the mountain and kind of embrace it with the trails you do a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah, it's super cool. Like Red had been known for a long time to not have a ton of beginner terrain because it just is naturally steep. Which by no means does our park have only expert riding. It has a good blend. We've got a great green trail called Columbia
I actually really
Ave.
loved that green trail. It was flowy, like kept a nice pace to it, lots of support in the corners like that. Like I think green trails can be really sick. Yeah, Columbia Ave is pretty nice.
And again, like same thing with those corners as an example. It's like it takes longer to stack more dirt, but I think that it just feels better and it increases the rider experience when things just feel larger around you.
Yeah, totally. You feel like you're locked right in.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Were you on that one, or was that one of the
No,
others?
actually, we had Garrett Bueller, who's also a professional mountain biker. He's more on the trail building side of things now. I think he's retired from pro mountain biking, but he led the charge there on the green trail and did a great job. I actually did end up working on the green a little bit. So did Rick and a guy named Ryan from the coast. So it's got a good mix of trail builders on that.
Cool.
That trail, yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, and then we took a little walk down Upper Obsidius that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
That was looking dope. Just like monster berms, like full on skate park styles, just transfers everywhere. And there's some hand crew working on it, and they had it all slapped out, looking beautiful like that. So that was cool to see. Do you have any like kind of visions for that maybe are a little different? Not different, but any like things specifically that you're trying to aim for with that section?
Well, when we built the middle section that's open right now and we got to test it, initially I was like, oh, I kind of wanted it to be more, which really it came down to like the angles of the lips, which now after riding it more, I think that it's really great. And we have like a lot of off-camber jumps, like everything is turning, it's built to whip. And depending on where you hit the lip, it really dictates, how big and how high you're going to go. So I think that we actually really hit the nail on the head well there, where a lot of people can ride that trail and feel comfortable with the smoothness of the takeoffs. And with Upper Obsidius, really trying to keep it fresh and push the limits of bike trail building as far as, coming in with a wood drop straight into a berm to berm transfer air. So it's like you're going from one berm to the other. You have to really like pop your bike opposite direction into a shark fin and jump it into the next berm, big straight table into a massive 90-degree shark fin, into a step up reverse shark fin berm, into a huge like NASCAR size berm, into another big straight table. So in general, just, trying to keep it as big as possible from a scale perspective within that 30-foot boundary. And the berms, I always want them to be as massive as possible and ideally as steep as possible. With the raking and everything, it's not always the easiest to get the exact steepness of the berms.
Yeah, fighting gravity a little bit too.
Yeah, so, you just... Everybody's got their touch to it, from, our guy digging the pits to myself and Rick and the people coming behind raking. It's such a huge team effort. So I really just, do my best to strike that balance and allow everyone to have a certain amount of their own personal freedom. And if we really have to make an adjustment, we do. But everybody's been doing really awesome. And yeah, I think that the main premise for Obsidius in general is just to push the limits of scale and just like try to be as creative as possible with big features.
Sweet. So when you guys do your testing after, is that kind of a big celebration time, or are you guys a little nervous to guinea pig some of the stuff for the first time? Pretty big stuff, I guess, but
I was a bit nervous when we built the first portion that we've just opened. And I actually called Kurt Sorgi up to come out and hit it. And he was just a little bit behind. And I just rolled through and hit it first lap. And it was all totally fine. And Yeah, I think that the way that we build the jumps are poppy, but not so poppy that you have to be super afraid of the fact that you're about to go like, 20 feet in the air.
Yeah.
They're a bit more moto inspired in that sense, where the takeoffs are a bit mellower, but definitely still enough to toss nice whips and get up there.
Yeah. Pretty forgiving too, because I definitely like cased a couple because of my own fault riding a trail for the first time, and like
Yeah,
it's not gonna like kick you forward or snap your bike in half or anything like that, like with that moto style. I
totally.
know in my younger years I was always trying to stack really dirt jumpy stuff because that's kind
Yeah.
of where my background started. And then like at one point I even watched two of my buddies collide midair because the jump was just so tall and steep and straight up. And I
Wow.
was like, okay, maybe I do go a little more moto style. And now I'm finding like I can make the speed a little more variable with that moto style. Like
Yeah.
you can still really pop it, but like more of your energy is going through the jump and you're carrying more momentum out opposed to if everything is just like super vert all the time.
Hmm.
I still like it's kind of like situational where you put stuff. I think we went into this pretty deep on the last podcast I did with Ollie, but I do like there to be like a jump you can trick for sure. Not that I have
Yeah.
like a big bag of tricks at all or anything, but some people do.
Totally,
But
yeah. That's where like we have those few straight jumps, and Rick's been really good at pushing for that for sure, because we just have so many angled jumps on Obsidious. So it's great to have some straight jumps. And as I am not a dirt jumper, I didn't grow up riding dirt jumps and whatnot. That was something for me where I didn't want to have those super steep lips. Like I still want to get lofty and give you plenty of time, but I think that the majority of people have difficulties, and it just makes it that much more technical for them to hit lips that are that steep.
totally, especially in a bike park when people are gonna
Yeah.
have their suspension set up all over the place, like if they're riding tech trails or something, and they have the rebound way up and softer.
And then imagine hitting a 30-foot table that's like super steep.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
like definitely approaching more of like pro level riding,
Yeah,
I would think.
you see like lots of interesting stuff over the years, especially in like the early 2010s. I remember like Sun Peaks' early flow zone that they had under the chair. Like some of the original builds, they had like a line of dirt jumps, but it's on such a steep grade that like the lips are just twangers
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
So,
which like that definitely limits it a lot for people, and I think Obsidious, our new black jump line, really speaks volumes to the amount of people that are able to hit that trail.
yeah,
I see like such variable ability level going through there, and they're clearing the jumps, and so I think that it just makes a lot of sense from that perspective. And you asked about, is it a celebration kind of feeling when we test the jumps or feeling nervous and stuff like that? And I think for myself, the biggest thing is that we don't test, we just build. Like you walked through the trail today, we've built like an entire section. It's, I think it's 420 meters of trail,
cool.
and we haven't tested a single bit of it, and we've been working on it for over a month. And we've dug a ton of dirt and built a lot of very large features and big berms. And when it comes down to like the true test, that's where I guess the nerves for me is, as I'm the leader of the project and I'm guiding the scale and size and the process, I usually get a little nervous for a bit because I'm like, okay, well, we just built all this stuff. Like, I hope it works.
So you maybe get pushed into being the guinea pig a little bit sometimes?
Not
or-
even so much like the guineaing aspect of it, but more just the fact that, there's a lot of money spent on these trails and we're putting a ton of effort into them. And so
Yeah.
it's just like there's a lot riding on it.
Yeah,
And from the perspective of all that, we did Lapis the same way, didn't test anything, and it worked great. I know it's not typical in trail building to do that. Like the guy that started the project, Alex, he was like, we have to test every feature before we build or move on to the next feature. And for myself, I can't even think about doing that because I need to build multiple features in a row to link and see the vision of the turn into the jump. Where's the jump going to get placed and all that stuff. So I have a pretty high level of confidence, though, in my ability to read terrain and jumps. And I've just been doing it my entire life. I've been sizing up, cliffs and jumps and all kinds of things and working with speed and terrain variables. And so far it's been really good. And so I just always lean on that. And even when we're looking at a jump that I'm wondering about speed, I just say to myself, we haven't had a problem with speed yet. If anything, we've had a problem maybe at times with a little too much speed just based on the grade of the trail. So yeah, I just really lean on those aspects, and we really don't test until we've had quite a large amount of trail built, and also the fact that there's a hand crew coming behind us. It takes a while to finish the trail anyways, so it's just not really possible for us to be testing that often.
I guess, I mean, like at some point before you open it, the trail's probably getting tested.
Oh yeah, definitely we're testing.
So there's probably got to be some pretty fun sessions, especially on a trail like that one, the big black one.
Absolutely.
Go down.
Yeah, it's super fun. Kurt and I sessioned it the first day, and it opened the next day.
Yeah, that's like probably what makes this job so great is those moments when it, after like grinding on something for so long, and it kind of all comes together, and you have those moments where you're just like enjoying it with your friends. I think that's probably one of the best parts of the job.
Yeah, totally. It's pretty unreal for sure. I mean, it's takes a lot of work and dedication to build these trails, and then to have all the homies come up and ride, and just how stoked they are about the trail and the features, and yeah, it's a really rewarding process.
Yeah, I don't know how much you're like in the loop like for like future plans or anything, but is there anything like personally you kind of dream of seeing?
As far as
red maybe, or
honestly, my main thing is like I just want to build this black trail to the bottom of the mountain. I think that's going to be incredible, and once that's built, for me, I think that red's pretty badass. I know that there is other potential ideas and plans for future development, and we'll just have to see where red's at with all of that. And I think that what would be really fun in the future is to start building more hybrid style trails. So like a mixture of some rompy tech into some small jump stuff, back into some rompy stuff, and then into like a couple really big features, and just mixing it up. I think like from a traditional perspective of bike parks, it's very standard to, have your flow lines, and then you have your single track lines and like downhill stuff. And I think there is a good variable style out there, but I think that could be a good direction to start pushing things a bit.
Seems to be like kind of a common theme is like that variable kind of mixed trail. Like every bike park really does have its established flow trails and the tech trails. And like I even explained it once to a guy as like, the flow trails are almost like your groomers and the tech trails are almost like your tree skiing, like in a resort. But like that kind of mix, like once you have those established trails, mixing up the styles a little bit and getting a bit more creative with what you can do and embrace the terrain with like a hybrid style trail. That'd be cool to see. A top to bottom Obsidius would be pretty sick. Like that'd be gnarly, not gnarly, but like it'd just be like so banger to drop into that and do that for like a continuous lap all the way to the bottom. I hope to see that happen, that's for sure.
Yeah, it would be pretty insane. Definitely, like, starting at the top all the way down, it would just be, like, so many big jumps coming at you. And, of course, as we've mentioned, really smooth features. And I just think from just a fun perspective and practicing whips and your tricks, it's just, like, so banger. And I can't wait to see all the up-and-coming young riders develop their skill set. It's like we've already got kids that are like probably 12 years old boosting the black line. And it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah. I know like from when I moved to Revelstoke, I think 2017, and to see the level that the kids in that town got to, like after that bike park went in, like some of the talent, like it, maybe they would have got that far just without a bike park too, but like to mix up the offerings, it's really dope seeing like the youth in a town get like a riding facility like that they can really excel on.
Yeah, definitely all the homies are like, man, can you imagine if we had this when we were 12,
Yeah.
And I mean, I think like when it really comes down to it and people seeing the trails and kind of being blown away, especially say in our community or just in general, it's like I think in a way there's people that know, And then there's people that don't know, and it's like they don't know what they need. And even when they see it, they don't know yet until they see the progression and the growth that comes from it.
Yeah.
Right?
You kind of have to like present something like those builders. We might have something in our mind that we've already done or we've seen done or something like that. And if you're trying to sell someone on a vision and they haven't seen it before, it's kind of hard until they have it in front of them, or if they're a rider, until they actually get them to ride it themselves if they can.
Yeah.
Like that's when, things can really happen that way. Do you have anything like maybe outside of Red Mountain, just like yourself as a builder, that you hope to build one day? Like any like cool ideas you want to do, or maybe a specific feature in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that Lapis and Obsidius are a really good example of my mind and the dreams that I have for trail building as far as like flow trails are concerned. I haven't thought too far outside of that, honestly. Like, I'm just so deep in the build process here and really putting out the dream trails that are in my mind and working with our team to develop that and also get ideas from them.
No time to think about anything else.
Yeah,
just deep
I'm
in
not
it.
thinking
I know that
about
feeling.
the future for sure. I'm putting this is the future.
Yeah,
right now, yeah,
that's a good way to put it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about is there anyone kind of mentoring like that you've kind of learned from your dive into trail building?
Yeah, well, I definitely have learned a bit from everybody that I've worked with so far. We have had a few different operators coming through depending on the time frame of the project and where everybody's at. I started the trail with a guy named Alex who's worked for Gravity Logic for almost 10 years now, I think, and he was really great in teaching me, his particularness of cleaning up the edges of the trail and trail edging and all kinds of things like that, which I'm a really particular guy anyways. So I would have picked up on that, I would imagine, at some point. But like just starting out, it's good to have that initial mentorship and experience. And from there, I ended up working with Garrett Bueller for a bit, which he was fun to work with. And, brought his pro mountain biking background to the equation. And then I ended up working with Rick because Garrett took off to another Gravity Logic job. And Rick was really amazing to work with. I learned a lot from him as far as how to rake rocks out of the dirt, depending on your own personal style and what you think about mountain biking. Some people are like, oh, there should be rocks in the dirt. It's mountain biking. It's like, well, when you're building flow trails, you want to remove those rocks from the trail because it's meant to be a smooth and fast surface. And also from a maintenance perspective, if you have rocks in the surface, they just start to come out, and that's how you get trail deterioration.
Absolutely. Like little indiscrepancies in the dirt over time as the tires go over them, or just as the dirt settles, having like a big stiff rock, that thing's going to start poking out.
Yeah, which is actually crazy to see because we didn't do extensive raking at all on the green trail. And there's so much rock in the surface of the trail, and it's very bumpy in comparison to Lapis. Yeah. Where Lapis still has really no rocks in the surface, like large rocks.
Yeah. So is that kind of picking the rocks out as you guys are excavating it and just raking it really well?
Yeah, it's just the raking process. So as I mentioned, I learned a ton from Rick on that aspect. And also he's taught me a lot about, keeping the grade all the way down to your flat bottom, just making sure that you have that constant downhill slope. And yeah, he's taught me a lot about berm radius and just things like that. But in general, for the building process, I don't worry about the rocks and the stacking. We'll use rocks to build up the trail edges.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to fill in just such large volumes. Like you definitely, the more rocks you can get, the better.
Yeah.
More so on that surface tread level, I guess is what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, Lapis was smooth as hell, man.
Yeah. So on the surface, for sure, it's just machine raking all the way down to the smallest rock that you can. Ideally, we wish that we had skeleton buckets, and then it would be a complete game changer, but right now we don't, and I tried to source those and wasn't able to. So Rick has a really great raking technique where he basically just is constantly flicking the teeth of the bucket through the surface of the trail, side to side, forward and back. He's using it just like you would a rake.
Yeah.
And as he's catching those rocks, he's just flicking them towards the machine until he gets to a point where he can grab them and chuck them off the trail. And he'll do many passes of that depending on how rocky the soil is to get that top surface level of, 6 inches with no major rocks. And from there, the rakers come through, and that's also an insanely extensive process for them. It's honestly crazy to think that that's the way that these trails are finished, which in the bigger picture, I can see that if we had skeleton buckets and a roto, we would probably not really need rakers.
Yeah, save some time for sure.
Yeah, so, as I learn in the trail building process, I can see how we could dramatically improve our efficiency on those fronts and reduce the manual labor load. And then as far as other people, Rick was here for a short period last year on Lapis, and then he had to go off to some of his own contracts. And I ended up working with a guy named Callum, who he has just experienced more in the industrial side. And the big thing I learned from Callum was how to move volumes of dirt, which, maybe again, this might be pretty obvious to trail builders. I don't know. I haven't spent a lot of time in excavators prior to this project. So what I was doing is I would dig the dirt out of the pit and then I would move it. But as I was moving it, I would place it somewhere where I could always scuttle around the edge of the pile and, keep going that way. And I also, ironically, or it's pretty funny, when Alex showed up, he was not into bringing the finish bucket with us at all. It's dig bucket only. He hated it when guys would just punch rocks into the surface, and that's what he saw with the finish bucket. So he was dig bucket only. And so I kind of would say that to every operator that I'd work with. It's we don't really use the finish bucket, blah, blah, blah. And when Callum showed up, he hops in the 60. I tell him that stuff. And he's probably oh man, this guy's such a goober, doesn't know anything. And he starts digging the pit, and then he pops the finish bucket on because we have quick release, and he starts hauling the material because the finish bucket takes 3 to 4 times the volume of the big bucket. Totally. And he would dig from the pit. Then he would walk the machine up by extending the boom out as far as possible over the pile that he had dug. So he's climbing up the pile, gets on top of it, turns around and starts hauling the pile. And he basically just stays on the pile as he moves it, right?
Totally.
Which, as an inexperienced operator, I didn't know that. So I learned such a valuable skill from Callum. Yeah. Which helped us immensely because of the volumes that we move. I've learned a lot from all the different operators, and I feel like I've got a good mixture of skill sets now through the people that I've worked with.
Yeah. I tried making some skeleton buckets a few years ago now, but we must have not cut the holes big enough because it wasn't really efficient process, and it started wearing out the pins a little bit more. But I think maybe an actual professionally designed skeleton bucket would be pretty cool to try. I've never really done that, but I've been seeing these grinder buckets a lot more, and I'm really interested to try one of those where it actually busts the rocks up a little bit. It filters your dirt.
Yeah.
But they're pretty pricey, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting to try some different options. There's a Gravity Logic project going on somewhere in Europe, it looks like, and they have
it's probably the one I saw. Yeah, he was
sifting buckets.
Yeah, he's changing between his buckets, and he's sifting out this nice clay material, but you can tell where he's working is just super rocky terrain.
Yeah.
So that looks like a kind of cool way to do it. Yeah, it's cool to hear you talk about moving material too, because everyone does do it a different way. I found this weird technique a few years ago, I think in a YouTube video, where the guy built the road that he's working off of, and then rather than start from the end with the pit, once he kind of has that dirt all piled in his road, he drives towards where he's trying to put it, starts digging from that end, and then he's like pulling the material with him a little bit as he's like dumping it, and it looks super weird at first when he starts from that end because there's almost like a big gap. But then once he gets his tracks on top of the pile of material he's pulled towards him, he like moved it so quickly, and I tried it like a few times. I was like, oh shit, this moves like a ton of material.
Yeah, you
Little
just
bit
want to get
faster.
on your pile and then basically start walking on your pile and just taking it with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, and that's like massive, and like I was moving dirt with the dig bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Totally.
like again, if you can move 3 to 4 times the volume with your other bucket, like you should be using it, right?
Yeah.
And with the quick release system, it's just incredible. You can be switching buckets all day long.
Yeah, the teeth are
Yeah.
nice for that on the dig buckets, like the kind of machine rake, pop them all up and get them out
Oh
of
yeah,
there.
totally. Yeah, so I mean, there's so many different styles, and yeah, just always learning and adjusting, and I like working with different operators because you're like, oh, I see what he's doing, or oh, I see what he's doing. Like we had a guy named Ryan come in last year, and he was working on the green trail a bit, and his style was really unique and super different. He didn't really dig a lot of pits because he actually would use his organic, like he'd use the stumps and trees and things, and he'd basically like put them behind the berm, which I was not stoked on, but he was like a longtime GL operator, and I was like, okay, well, like,
Yeah.
they know what this guy does, so I'm not gonna say anything to him. Like all the respect to Ryan, he's a great guy, and the trails turned out really good there, and just a totally different process. And I just kind of learned more from him, like the back-to-back berms that he was building, and like he was digging these big sump holes. And at the time, I had never really thought about it, and we had kind of being new operators for GL, it was like, they said we try to hide the culverts, and so like these really small sumps were being dug, and like the pipes were getting jammed up against the walls, and Ryan comes in and he's just digging these massive sumps, and I'm looking at it being like, holy. And then he eventually would, fill it back in. So now I love pitting the sump holes. Like I'll go in and dig a full size pit in the sump, and then if there's tons of rock around, I might even use the rock just to throw back in the pit. I'm not
some of the sediment's gonna go in there too as it drains over the years.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of rock, but I've gotten good with it. Especially in certain situations, it helps a ton to build up the walls. But even, you could just pit your sump and throw a bunch of stumps and stuff in there, and then just throw some duff over it, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
Like nobody will know. And
Yeah,
it's
totally.
another great source for material. And if you've already used up all of your tree debris and stumps and stuff, and you have rocks around and you just want the dirt, then you just dig the sump, throw the rocks in it, and cover it over, and it's gone.
Yeah, totally.
So
I like using the duff a lot to like clean up the sides and make it look all pretty. That's like a pretty satisfying part of it.
Totally.
Even on like the low side of your trail, like if you kind of put it there, sometimes I feel like it helps retention the dirt and material from being washed away a little bit. Like
absolutely.
Like, the most satisfying thing too is when you find like a rotten log and you can just crunch it up in your bucket and like sprinkle it like the salt guy on the side to get some red rot going. I love doing that.
Yeah, make it look a little more authentic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we have been getting a lot of duff. We're in a cedar forest, so there's so much organic on the surface lately on this section of Obsidius we're working on, and we're out of tree debris, and we still need material, but we have so much duff, so we just have been digging more on the uphill side of the trail, which isn't really standard for us to like just dig straight into the wall. But we've dug a couple pretty large wall pits, and then just use the duff to completely spread that out and like regrade out the area, and you wouldn't even know.
Totally. It's nice filling it in.
Yeah,
especially on like a ski hill, I find, because like if you're skiing in the trees and like there's a big cut bank, sometimes it's a little gnarly, but if you can fill that cut bank back up with material, it's going to help stabilize it. And then for the people skiing on like a resort, if they're not going to drop all the way to flat, all of a sudden helps it like fill in. It's not just
totally.
snow.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it is neat. It's like there's so many tools to the toolkit when you're trail building, and unless you're exposed to them, you may not know. And like, it does take a lot longer to learn if you're learning on your own. So to be able to work with many operators and skill sets and just like learn a bit from everybody, it really increases the overall productivity
It's
and
like
ability.
the best thing I think you can do, probably for any job in general, but trail building definitely. Like the more people you can learn from and like keep the ego down is probably a big thing, especially if you're like a younger guy getting into it, surrounded by maybe a lot of yes men. It's easy to kind of close off your techniques a little bit. I think I've probably had problems with that in the past. Then all of a sudden you like ride someone's trail and you're like, holy shit, how did they do that? And like maybe you get to work with them a bit and like just change your perspective in general.
Which is honestly pretty funny too. Like, I mean, everything that we've built so far has been really well received, and at the same time, you're like, oh, you're just jerking my chain. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
you never really know. I love what we've built, so I mean, that's whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like if people are around you and they're just telling you it's good, but it's not good, like that's obviously not helping anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can do this thing, maybe it's not super honest, but where you pretend you're a first timer and you're riding the chair with someone.
Yeah.
They tend to give you a lot more of an honest opinion
Yeah.
of it. And I guess you have to be ready to hear whatever they're going to say and not take it too personally.
Yeah.
But I guess if they say good things, then it feels really good.
Yeah, either way, I mean, like, you're going to have your own beliefs about the trail, and if people are sharing things, it's like you should already probably know that objectively, right? Like if you've got a section where it's like pretty fast and you're like, oh yeah, we know that. We're thinking about ways to fix it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the goal is to build the best trails that you can. So if there's issues, it's like there's no reason to feel upset about it. It's like there's obvious things that need to be fixed, and we'll make those adjustments.
Yeah, and you're probably already aware of whatever someone's going to say. It's probably in your mind, like eating away at you if there really is something that's like that's going to bug someone that much.
Yeah, I think like when it really comes down to it from the ego perspective, the biggest thing is like, working on a team, there's a lot of different ideas and there's changes that are being made throughout the chain. So, like I've got Rick coming behind me and he and I work together, and he's really great in the sense that, as a much more experienced trail builder than I am, he still respects my leadership and works with me to build the vision. And I work with him and I put faith and trust in him and his experience also. If he wants to make changes to things that I've put together, I trust that what he's doing is what's needed. And we work in that chain. So it's like, that changes are going to be made to the work that you do. And in an ideal world, you're obviously working with your team enough to where you're on the same page and like drastic changes aren't going to be made, but tuning and whatnot is definitely happening. So,
yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, we can kind of wrap her up from here. Is there any maybe trails you've rode in your life that really stuck out to you? Like any kind of trail, even if it's like a hiking trail that you're just bombing down?
Well, definitely, I think like from a bike park perspective, certainly the obvious is riding Whistler.
Yeah, the golden standard a little bit.
Yeah, which A-Line and Dirt Merchant, and I think even Freight Train at the time I really liked. I definitely enjoy the jump trails and the flow and speed and stuff like that. I also actually really did like riding in Revy, which I know that you've done a lot of work there, which is super cool to meet you. And
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I really like the riding at the hill there. I can't remember the names of the trails and whatnot, but I've done a little bit of riding there and really enjoyed those trails. And otherwise, our friends, actually, my friends Josh and Tyler built a trail here called Something Different, which was just a super wicked trail, like hand-built, jump, romp, kind of more of that hybrid style. It definitely wasn't a flow trail in the sense that there was no smooth trail, but they had nice shark fins and doubles, lots of jumps, step downs, mixed into just like a pure loamer, which was pretty wicked. And unfortunately, it actually ended up getting shut down because they didn't have proper approval. But it sounds like one of our other friends, Paul, has been working really hard at getting that sanctioned, because it's actually in a a designated trail area. So it was just kind of the way the boys went about it, but that was a super cool trail, and I think it's coming back.
Right on. Oh, that's
Yeah.
sick to hear. Yeah, that whole process of like sanctioning trails, obviously it's like a huge process and like it's talked about quite a bit. So like with this whole podcast, I'm not really going to try to focus so much on the bureaucratic side of things because I don't really have a ton of experience on that side. Like most of my experience is on like the build side, and that seems to be the fun stuff to talk about. But yeah, there's also that other side of legality and whatever, getting a trail brought in. So it sucks when you see stuff get kind of cut out. I kind of have the mentality is like if you are building rogue, you also just have to kind of know that it may be taken away from you, or
Yeah.
there could even be legal consequences of it. But yeah, when stuff gets brought in, that's sweet. But
Yeah, I think it's easy when you're building rogue to have that mindset of it won't happen to us, or you hope it won't happen, or whatever. And from a legal perspective, it's super risky for sure. You know, like definitely don't want to get sued or something like that, or have someone get injured. But it is mountain biking, and it's inherently dangerous, and people should pre-ride, re-ride, and free ride, and know their ability level and
yeah,
work their way up the chain.
for sure.
Yeah.
You definitely, when you're working in a bike park, you do see like some pretty crazy shit, just like people's abilities and like their brain levels of what they think maybe they're okay to do, and then what they actually do a little
Yeah.
bit. You see some sketchy moments when you're hiding in the trees and people don't really know they're being watched when they're riding.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, one thing I've noticed with people learning is just like their level of frustration with potentially the level they're at. And I think that maybe just pushes them to kind of like try stuff that they shouldn't be trying. And, it's just a natural part of the learning curve, anyways. Like, I think, at least for myself, I was lucky to have learned these sports at a young age. So I crashed my brains out when I was a kid, not when I'm, in my mid 30s. So yeah, seeing people learning at an older age is definitely a much more dangerous process, and hopefully they go about it the right way.
Yeah. Well, that's why you provide them things that they can do it safely on.
Totally.
Cool. Right on. I think that's pretty much how. I think that summarizes it all.
Yeah, totally.
Anything else you want to get into? But yeah, we could end it there.
Yeah.
Very sweet. It's sweet to bring you on because you kind of did refer to yourself as like a newer builder. But like it's cool to kind of get your perspective as someone who's like come from a totally different background as a pro skier and coming into trail building, like with that perspective, opposed to maybe someone who's just been like fully in it their whole life. And that's kind of what I want to go with this show, is like having people from different perspectives and different ways of doing it. So even though you call yourself new at it, like I think that's pretty sweet to like see what you guys have done on the hill, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it progresses. I'll definitely be making some trips back to Red here.
Awesome. So, yeah, well, thanks so much for coming out, and it's been awesome to be on the podcast, and stoked to bring in new process and new thought process to the system as far as being a new builder.
Yeah, right on. All right, man. Well, thanks.
Thank you.